So, we are with Honorable John Mahama, Member of Parliament for Boli, and also Vice Presidential Candidate for the National Democratic Congress. Thank you very much for agreeing to talk to me.
It's a pleasure. It's always my pleasure.
Africanist TV, as I call it.
Okay.
First of all, I'm very surprised I'm meeting you at the party headquarters. I'm surprised you maintain an office here.
When I was nominated the running mate, the question came up where I was going to have my offices, and I asked why not in the party head office, and I think it went down well with the party executive, and so
why did you elect to be in the party headquarters?
Because
you have a much nicer campaign office in Kuku Hill.
Yeah, that's Professor Mills' office, and there have been some problems of communication between the campaign office and the head office.
Okay.
And so I didn't think that either joining Professor Mills in his office or finding a separate office would help improve the situation. And so I thought that if I based in the party head office, it will improve, the communication between the presidential ticket
but still, if I might be
and the party headquarters.
I get the impression that this is not really your working office.
No, I mean, if I sat here, then it would mean that I was not involved in the campaign properly. I'm more in the field than in the office, yeah. So when I have meetings, I come here and hold the meetings. And then at times when I'm
on the road.
At times when I'm in Accra and I'm not on the field, then I come and work out of here.
Well, I should have begun by congratulating you, first of all, for the nomination. And also, I suspect I must congratulate you for the performance in the election so far. Somehow you are number 2 next to the MPP, but it appears the NDC is very much in the celebratory mood.
Yeah, because we came into this election as the underdog, and most people had ruled us out. They didn't give us a dog's chance, to be able to achieve the feat we did. And obviously the MPP being the ruling party, had absolutely more resources than us. I think they outspent us by a ratio of 1:20. And so what rough figure would you put on your 1/20th spending of the MPP? Well, I have an idea of how much we spent. And
will you put the back of the envelope figure on that?
Well, being a communications person, I can estimate the cost of the billboards you see around the country.
How much do you think the NDC spent? The MPP spent? I read in the NDC report they spent $48 million.
Well, that is a guesstimate. And
what would you say?
Well, I wouldn't disbelieve that figure, because if you look at the amount of airtime they bought, if you look at the kinds of billboards they have around, if you look at the abundance of party paraphernalia, T-shirts and all that they were giving out for free, and reports have it that in addition to monies, to people. And then also, if you look
perhaps as the NDC did in 2000,
if you look at the number of vehicles they have and all that, you can make an estimate, a rough estimate. And
but you're not doing badly. I was impressed. You inaugurated about 100 four-wheel drives for the NDC some time ago.
Yeah, a quarter of them were Chinese pickups, which we got at quite discounted rates.
Okay.
And then the rest of them we procured under a lease agreement. And so, we did a down payment, and after the campaign, what we'll do is we'll retrieve the vehicles, auction them off, and then pay off whatever is outstanding on the lease.
That's smart financing.
Yes.
Okay. As you know, my primary interest is in communications.
Okay.
And of course, we go way back in that. I must thank you again for the big support you gave to the Technology Assessment Project as Minister for Communications.
Yes.
Let me ask you, I mean, you used to be the ranking member for the Communications Committee in Parliament.
Yes.
And you are now ranking member for Foreign Affairs.
Yes.
But I'm sure you still keep a keen eye on communications.
Of course I do.
We now have 6 mobile companies. Zain launched only yesterday or the day before.
Yeah.
The MPP has done quite well in the communications sector.
Well, it's built on the foundation we laid, and as you are well aware of the kind of work we did, to make telecoms take off in this country. I mean, when we took over the telecom sector, there was one giant monolith, which was called Post and Telecommunications Corporation. And so the kinds of policies that we're putting from that time is what has made communications take off in such a big way in Ghana. We licensed most of the major operators who are still operating here in Ghana. And I think the only addition is Glo, which has become the 6th operator. And then also Westel did not function properly, and that has been divested. So I think that those are the main additions.
You never managed to put in a proper board for the NCA?
Yeah, we didn't. Not because we didn't want to, but I think that at the time, the NCA was in a very fledgling state, and we thought that close ministerial supervision, to help it,
at the very last minute,
capacity.
This very awkward situation. Right, you were appointed chairman of the commission, I think on the last day of the NDC government or something like that.
Well, the president was still the president.
He was,
and it was a valid appointment, but of course the new government came and decided otherwise. I mean, with the kind of expertise I had in communications, I don't think that it was out of place, but they had other ideas and they put in a new board themselves. Actually, when they took over, the minister continued to act as board chairman until eventually they put in the board.
As you might know, I criticized that decision quite strongly.
Yeah.
Well, but we kicked off this, we call this Positive Ghana News. We kicked it off with a conference at which Mr. Pienim was one of the discussants.
Yeah.
In fact, we were supposed to have Mr. Sebefia.
Okay.
But at the last minute, he had to be detained or something. So we got
okay.
Two very strong NDC guys on the panel as well.
Okay.
Mr. Pienim was making the point that...
which Pienim is this?
Kwame Pienim.
Okay. Kwame Pienim, yeah. Okay.
The former, not in Pienim, the former chairman of the PURC.
Yeah, Kwame Pienim.
Pienim,
yes.
Sorry. He was making the point that, well, his understanding when he was appointed chairman of the PURC was that the PURC will be given control of telecommunications. In other words, the PURC will become a multi-sector regulatory agency. He made very strong points against the NCA. That the NCA is both a licensing authority and a regulator, and it's not able to do the two very well, at least, or things like that. What would you think about that kind of argument?
Well, actually, when we were setting up the NCA, the suggestion did come up that we should have an omnibus regulatory agency for all utilities, including telecoms. And so that suggestion did come up. But we realized that with the specialized nature of communications, it would probably not work properly if we just buried it.
Have you been happy with the history of the record of the NCA so far?
Not exactly. Nobody. No, I don't think any person who
what
is interested in communications can be happy.
What exactly are you happy with?
Many years after, it still remains quite a weak regulatory body in terms of a depth of expertise in the regulatory area. This is a very specialized area, and if you look all over the world, people who are experts in communications in the regulatory sector command very huge salaries. And I think that it's very difficult for the NCA to be able to attract these people to come and work.
So what exactly would the Mills presidency and the Mahama vice presidency do in this particular sector?
The NCA is supposed to be autonomous, but what we've done is we've tied their conditions of service into the public sector, and so it looks like their conditions of service have to match with the public sector. And I think that the way to go is probably to let their autonomy become real in terms of how they pay themselves and the kinds of experts they attract into the place. I mean, after coming out of government and being in opposition, looking at it again from outside, I think that with the kinds of monies the NCA is able to raise in terms of regulatory fees, in terms of licensing fees and so on and so forth, it should be possible for us to give them more autonomy, because they would be able to bear those salaries themselves without taking out of the consolidated fund.
You didn't give them a lot of autonomy. I mean, this is just by the way, but...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I said with hindsight.
Okay.
I mean, it's easier when you look back, and then you see that some things that you could have done better that
let me make my by the way point anyway, because I want to put it on record. When you were minister, we gave you a copy of the book Telecom Restructuring by Professor Melody.
Yeah, I have a copy. It's still on my shelf.
Yes, and you requested 5 copies for the NCA.
Yeah, I did.
We duly supplied, but they never paid for it.
Oh boy.
So I always tell the NCA they owe us.
Okay.
Anyway, just asking by the way. Let me end.
I guess maybe when I come back as vice president, I'll order them to pay you.
You will definitely. But you see, the fact that you can order them to pay us, that's the point about the autonomy.
I'll ask them to pay you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mahama.
Yes, thank you.